Namaste. Thank you guys for joining me for this class. We've been in Costa Rica. We've done a lot of really fun adventures, from zip lining to forest bathing to hiking to seeing the waterfall to going to the coffee plantation and so much more. I thought I would come back to the theme of the trees a little bit in the beginning of this practice. Since we've been here, we have focused on the ecosystem of not only the forest, but yesterday we were also discovering even a tree can have its own ecosystem. We even learned that a sloth has the same thing. I think it was Heather that looked that up. So we know that there is not only intelligence, but so much life stemming from the forest and from the trees. And we've also talked this week about life is so interwoven. We're so interconnected to nature, to each other, because the life force energy runs through us all. So something that we learned yesterday that I thought was fascinating was that there's a tree here in Costa Rica that they mentioned, or our guide was mentioning, as being a parasite, and that it would wrap around another tree and choke the life out of it. But yet there's still life stemming from it. We know that in the process of existence, there is birth, death, or birth, life, death, and rebirth. So even there's a lot of cycles that happen in nature. You know, we've talked about the cycles of the moon. When there's a new moon, we don't see it in the sky, but we know that it's there. But to us, it's invisible. And then it starts to go into the waxing phase of going into a crescent moon and a half moon and a full moon and all its brightness and glory. And then it eventually starts to wane. It starts to lessen, returning back to the new moon. And these cycles happen even in our seasons. So those of us that live in a place where we have the 4 seasons, we see that the springtime is that birth, that renewal, that fertility. And then in the summertime, everything is lush and really bright, really full. And then we move into the autumn, where the leaves start to change, they start to get colorful, they start to become dry and brittle, and they eventually fall down. And then, of course, in the wintertime, it seems barren. They seem a little lifeless. But yet, back in the springtime, it all starts to bud, and it all comes back. So basically, I'm talking about this to bring in the idea that life is on a continuum. And it doesn't really matter what philosophy you adapt or what faith you follow. If you think about, if you believe in this is the one life and this is the one and only life, there is still that birth, life, death, rebirth. If you believe in reincarnation, right, it's the same cycle. That's what they call the wheel of life in Buddhism. You have the birth, you have the life, you have the death, you have the rebirth, and you go through the cycle over and over and over again. So if we're seeing this in nature, we even saw it at the coffee plantation, right? Even at the coffee plantation, they used every little bit from the beans, from the seeds, from the shavings, even the, I'm not a coffee drinker, grounds, even the grounds, they would put back into the compost, put it back into the earth to make something grow again. So if everything is interwoven and everything is interconnected, the same happens with us. So life is on this continuum. And so even though we feel loss and even though we experience death at times, allow that to give you some hope and some faith and some joy that life is on a continuum. So we're going to start in a similar way that we did yesterday. And then we're going to add in a few poses that we did the first day that we were here. And then we're going to sprinkle in a couple new ones. I know that we were wanting some quad stretches. However, with the quad stretches, it requires a lot for the knees, a whole lot for the knees. And I don't want to do that for this class because I know some of you are having some knee issues. And I would rather demonstrate that maybe at the end of the practice, and then if you want to incorporate it in or stay a little bit after, you can do that with me. But we will be adding in at least one that we can do from standing a little bit later in the practice. So we're going to start on our backs, do some forest bathing here. When you come down to your back, I would rest the hands on the stomach. Have the eyes open just to take in the blue sky, all the different colors of the green leaves, all the different patterns and expressions of the branches and limbs. Even noticing what's being highlighted by the sunlight. Listen to the sound of the water, the birds, even in the traffic in the distance. You might have just seen that bird fly overhead. And feel free to keep the eyes open, or at this moment you can close them if that helps you to go inward. Focus on feeling the ground beneath you. Maybe the texture of the sticky mat beneath your feet. The weight of your seat as it's spreading out. And the same occurrence in your upper back. Let your head be heavy. Acknowledge that the oxygen that you're breathing in is stemming from the trees. But also acknowledge that the carbon dioxide that we release is flowing right back to them, representing this cycle and how everything recycles to help one another. There's even a law of the universe that says everything that expands must also contract. As you get immersed in your breath and begin controlling your breath, acknowledge this law of the universe happening inside of you. The lungs have to open to receive the breath, creating great expansion. Feel your upper body expanding. And then as you exhale, feel the contraction of your lungs. Everything softening and centering in the upper body. Even your mind. Now close the eyes if you haven't already. Tune into your breath. Breathing in and out through the nose. This movement that you experience in your belly is actually stemming from the diaphragm muscle, a dome-like muscle at the base of your lungs. It has a parachute-type effect. It attaches to the inner organs, so that's why we experience the ballooning on the inhale and the retraction on the exhale. So as we do deep yogic breathing, we're actually helping to knead and massage the inner organs, aiding digestion, not just respiration. Now on your next in-breath, you can extend your arms overhead, and you're going to walk your left foot over to your right and scoot them towards the edge or corner of your mat. And then you're going to sway the upper body to the right corner of your mat, creating that shape of a crescent moon. Except this pose is called Banana Asana. We've been lucky to see banana trees, the cluster of various types of bananas. So maybe reflect on those moments as you hold this position. Breathing into your left side body. Noticing what the stretch is targeting. Notice where you experience sensation. Try to keep both shoulder blades planted. And then on your next inhalation, go ahead and come back to center. Pause for a moment. And then walk the feet over to the left corner of the mat, and then sway the upper body to the upper left corner of the mat. Make sure your right sit bone isn't lifting away from the ground. Some people like to cross the ankles in this pose, but I prefer not to because it can disrupt circulation. So if you have any issues with circulation or your heart, I would leave that component out. Deepen the flow of your breath. And don't take it for granted. On your next inhalation, let's go ahead and drive the body back to center, realigning the way you started. And go ahead and hug both knees lightly, tucking them up towards your belly and chest. Relieving the low back, especially if you have minor ailments there. The eyes can be open or closed, but affirm mentally as you breathe. I reduce my scattered forces to rise up and away into the sky. Gently plant your left foot to the floor, fly the right leg up. Lace your hands behind your right thigh. Test the water, see if it's possible to take it to your calf. And some of you may be able to latch the first two fingers, the peace mudra, around the big toe. If you want to take it just a bit deeper, you can slide your left leg forward and out, but I would power through that leg, lengthening through the leg bones and spreading open through the toes. Now keep your hand hold with your right hand. So your right hand can hold your thigh, your calf, or the toe. And we're just going to wave the leg over to the right, maybe 6 to 12 inches. And then you're going to cross it over your midline. without taking the twist. So keeping the low back anchored down, the inhale you can open to the right. And as you exhale, you can bring it back through center and cross it over to the left. This is a little different than we did yesterday, but this will help after that hike. Now bend your left knee, cross the right ankle over your left, pick up the left foot, lace your hands behind your leg, taking eye of the needle pose. Stay present with your body, present with your breath, and present with these surroundings. You might even notice at times through our postures, there may be times where the sensation waxes or wanes. If it grows to the point of intensity, feel free to let it go or to lessen your grip. And if you find that the sensation fades away, you can go deeper by squeezing it in. Some people even like to pump it in and out as you breathe. Loosening the grip on the inhale, and then tightening your hold on the exhale. And then gently release. Now, take a hold of your right foot, holding the outer side of the foot, the pinky toe side, and you're going to pull that right knee down towards the right side of your body. The knee's angled away from you. It's a half happy baby. And then release. We'll take that sequence to the other side. So keep your right knee bent initially, and then fly your left leg skyward. Take your hand hold behind your thigh, slide it up to your calf, or the potential to wrap the peace mudra around the big toe. Don't be influenced by anyone around you. Just keep your focus on your own self, on your own body. If the eyes are closed, I suggest gazing into the mind's eye. And if the eyes are open, just gaze up. Take it a little deeper if you want by sliding the right leg out, but power through that leg, activate it. And then we're going to start to fan the left leg to the left on the inhale so the right hand can fall away. Drive it through center and cross it over the midline. Opening it to the side on the in-breath. Sending it over the navel on the out-breath. Nice and slow, slow and gentle. And then walk your right foot back, stack the left ankle over that knee, pick up that right foot, take eye of the needle pose. So I mentioned this yesterday, if it's difficult to hook your hands behind your leg, you can always keep the right foot to the floor. Since we're being active with this, put the dorsiflexion through the feet. And that provides a little protection for the knees as well. I'm going to give you some quiet time to notice sensation, to explore your options. Now let's release the right foot back to the ground. And then go ahead and take a hold of that left foot. Open it out to the side for half Ananda Balasana. Maybe even noticing the difference or variance between the two sides. Good, and gently release. Bring your knees and tuck them back in, but slip your hands underneath the crease of the knees, and then kick your heels up, and you're gonna rock and roll forward several rounds. Now, I'm gonna ask you to try to test your abdominals, to try to limit landing on your feet when you come up, and try to limit landing on your neck when you roll back. You may get a few little good pops through your vertebrae. It's a good massage for the back. And then come all the way up. Separate the feet wide. Stack your hands to your shins. And we'll do the inhale to cow tilt. Exhale to cat stretch. Continue that flow as you breathe, allowing the breath to lead and to guide the movements. Consider how important the breath is. The moment we are born, the first thing we do is we take a breath in. And then some babies will wail out. And the last thing that happens when we depart this body is we breathe out. And I never thought of that until my grandfather had passed away. I was staying with my grandmother, and she was with him at that moment that he passed. And she said that he was very weak because he had lung cancer. But he looked at her and squeezed her hand and said, "I love you." And he exhaled, and that was it. And she said it was the most peaceful moment she had ever experienced. And I loved hearing that from her after losing her beloved. So let's go ahead and come up to bear pose. We're gonna skip the squat today. I know you're disappointed. Take your feet wide. Stack the elbows onto the knees. Your tailbone shooting back, the crown of the head's reaching forward, but I want you to notice you may be getting a little dip in the low back. So I want you to draw the navel in somewhat so that your abdominals are helping to support your spine. Fixating your gaze at one spot. And then on your next inhale, slowly straighten your legs and let your arms release. Let them dangle and nod your head yes or no. Maybe consider for a moment if you're constantly a yes person and feeling drained a lot from constantly giving and giving and giving, say no. This may be the time for you to start setting some personal boundaries. If you're a person that's always on the receiving end, or if you're saying no a lot because your schedule is so full and you need to start making connections, maybe say yes. Or a combination of both. Maybe say yes for a moment because you came on this trip to start living life fully again. And then on your next inhale, bend your knees, get your feet really heavy, and then contract your belly so that you're slightly rounding. Use use your legs. Use the strength of your legs, the strength of your core to slowly stand up and to roll up, letting your head come up last. And then we'll walk to the front of the mat, have the feet hip distance apart. So come all the way up because we're going to start to flow in a little bit. And what we're going to do is take Utkatasana, chair pose. Chair pose is where we're sitting back and down, arms flying up, fingertips lifting up. Use your side lats to lift. Take one more breath. Exhale, fold, hands together as you bow over to Uttanasana. And then affirming here, nothing and no one on this earth can hold me down or back. Life is on a continuum. Inhale, come halfway up. Look out with your eyes. Straighten out through the vertebrae, and then exhale, fold again. Inhale, take it to plank. When you come to plank position, stacking shoulders over wrists, rock forward, lower down to Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale, come to upward facing dog or cobra or sphinx. Any heart opening pose. Curl the toes, roll back to downward facing dog. When you arrive to downward facing dog, press through all the base knuckles of your fingers. This will put you more into the mounds of the hands, less weight in your wrist. On your next inhale, lift your left leg to Ekapada Adho Mukha Svanasana. That's one leg up. And then look forward towards your hands and swing the foot through between them. If it doesn't land in between, that's okay. Take your hand to the calf, help to step it forward. If you need to come to your knees to table to swing the foot around, then you can curl the back toes and lift. Multiple ways to get in. Turn and plant your back foot to the floor. Helicopter the arms up, Virabhadrasana 2. Lunging that front knee, opening up from that hip, driving your right thigh bone back, solidifying the back heel. Arms out shoulder height. Check in with your back arm. Make sure it's not getting lax. And then set your drishti down the front fingertips. Deep breaths in and out through the nose. Exhale, take it to side angle, propping onto the front thigh, sweeping the right arm straight up towards the sky, or you can cross it over the ear. Yes. Nice. Now gaze down towards your left foot. Spin out of your back heel. Land your hands. Stepping into plank. Taking that vinyasa flow. Rolling back to downward facing dog. Let your head bow between the arms. Gaze in the direction of the feet. That's the Padiogram Drishti. Inhale, the right leg lifts up. And then look forward towards your hand. See if you can swing that foot through. And if you can't, remember hand hold to step it forward. Or tabletop, bring the foot around. And then tuck the back toes and lift. Eventually solidify your back foot. Helicopter up, Virabhadrasana 2. So we're opening with this external rotation through the hips and through the thighs. That right foot's a 90-degree angle. The left foot's either parallel to the mat or slightly turned to Scotian. Lift up through your floating ribs. Up through your sternum, up through your crown. And then taking it to side angle. The arm could go straight up, or you can bring it alongside your ear. If you bring it alongside your ear, rinse out the shoulder. Turn the pinky finger down. though you were waving to someone behind you. Stay weighted in the back foot, active in your back knee. And then affirming mentally, I am a fountain of boundless energy and power. I read somewhere that there's so much life force in one individual, it could light up the whole city of Chicago. Exhale, spin out of that back heel. We don't really feel that way as we get older though, do we? Step back plank. Shift forward, lower down to chaturanga. We're gonna keep the sun sow on a continuum. We're lifting up into the heart opening pose, rolling back to the inversion of downward facing dog. Magnify your breath. See things from a different viewpoint. That's the beauty of what we can learn by being upside down. Looking at things with a new vantage point. Inhale, lift the left leg halfway up. Exhale, we're gonna swing it all the way through. Take your time. All right, we're gonna pulsate here. So pulsation in Sanskrit is called spanda. So we're lifting the hips on the inhale and we're dropping them on the exhale. Good, couple more. Good, plant the back foot. Inhale, helicopter up, Virabhadrasana 2. Exhale to side angle when you're ready. Any expression will do. And if you want to take it a little deeper, you can always sink the left fingertips down to the ground. And then we're going to inhale, bring it back to warrior 2. Exhale, side warrior. Exhale, helicopter the arms down, spin away from your back heel. Vinyasa time, stepping to plank. Shift forward, build that upper body strength, that low push-up, chaturanga. Inhale, open the heart, bring flexibility to the back. Up dog, and then exhale, roll it back to downward facing dog. So notice when you power down more through the palms, you can activate the arms. And the more you drive up through your seat, you can even feel the stretch in the pit of the arms. And that's important for breast health. It helps to drain the lymphatic tissues in the chest, which we cannot get unless we do deep breathing, deep stretching. And of course, there's now a massage that helps with that as well. Inhale, right foot lifts. Exhale, swing it through. Take your time. Yep. Take as much time as you need to. So when we're here, we want that knee aligned over the ankle. So shimmy that foot forward if the knee surpasses it. And then create that spanda, that lift on the inhale and the drop on the exhale. We'll turn and plant the back foot next. Inhale, helicopter up, warrior 2. Your next out breath to your style of side angle, Ardha. You can even take it deeper if you want to set the hand down to your mat. Inhale, warrior 2. Flip the right hand, take the side warrior. Notice which leg feels a little weaker. Mine is definitely the right today. Exhale, helicopter down. Once you spin out, step it to plank. We're on a continuum. Shift forward, lower down to chaturanga. Inhale to upward facing dog. You'll be glad to know we're almost done with that continuum ever since now. Hold back to downward facing dog. Hold and breathe. On your next inhale, you can meditationally walk 1 foot at a time back to the top. You can lunge, taking 1 giant step at a time, or you can bring some buoyancy into the hips and float the feet forward, lengthening out through the vertebrae. The hands can be up to the legs, and then exhale, fold. Nodding your head one way or the other. Inhale, coming all the way to chair. Bending the knees, arms lifting up. Exhale, hands to hearts. All right, we're gonna build on this chair and do a balancing chair. Very similar to the way we did the eye of the needle pose. So we're gonna inhale to chair, Utkatasana. Now, I would suggest if you have an issue with the knee, just be here on your feet. Don't try anything else. I would suggest any heart issues, hands to prayer instead of arms overhead. In fact, I'm gonna have my hands to prayer too, if you wanna join me. We're gonna shift our weight to the right foot, and we're gonna elevate the left, and then we sit down a little deeper. I would suggest gazing towards one of the planks, trees or rocks in front of you. There's all kinds of fancy arm balances you can get into from here, but we're not doing that today. Inhale, come up. Because we're on vacation. Why would we want to do that? Inhale, Utkatasana chair. Go ahead and bring hands to prayer position at the heart. Shoulders soften away from the earlobes, yeah. And I like to press the hands together and lift the elbows up a little higher, because BKS Iyengar used to say, when you keep the pits of the arms open, you're less apt to be depressed. And there is a difference with that. Weight on your left foot, crossing the right ankle, maybe sinking a little deeper into the hips. Find your gaze and breathe. Inhale, come up. Done with that, shake it out. We're gonna add in a quad stretch. And this is the only one I know from standing. Or at least the only one I can think about in the moment. The others require a lot for the knee, and I didn't want to do that to you. So stand, stack and stand on your right leg. And you're gonna lift your left foot and take a handhold to it. But then if the knee's splaying out to the side, drop it down to face the ground. You may be able to even take your other hand around to hold the foot. And then just lightly squeeze the heel in towards your buttocks, lifting up through the navel. You need to come out, come out. Okay, we're gonna be adding in a different element with this in just a moment. Make sure that you're on a plank instead of in between, because that can make you get wobbly, and that's what happened to me. So stack and stand. Now on the left side, pick up the right foot, catch it with your hand, thighs parallel, knee points down. That may be enough. You might be able to swish the other hand around, and you might be able to squeeze it a little closer towards you. Good, and release. All right, one more balancing pose. This is called dancing Shiva. So a little lesson for you in case you don't know. So by the way, right, even if you're atheist, life is on a continuum, because even if you don't believe in the afterlife, right, you eventually turn to what?
Soil.
Yeah, you turn into the soil, and then that gets turned into an anthill. And remember that ginormous anthill? Who could forget that? So we're going to go into dancing Shiva. And I'm mentioning that because in Hinduism, there's a trinity. Just like in Christianity, there's a trinity of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. In Hinduism, it's Brahma, Shiva, Vishnu. Brahma is the creator, like God in Christianity. Vishnu is the preserver or the sustainer, like the Holy Spirit is in Christianity. Shiva is about death and rebirth and transformation, because that's what it is. It's just transformation. So, and that represents what Jesus represents, right? Died on the cross, he was resurrected, and then, you know. So the dancing Shiva also adds in a little bit of quad work, but it's also a heart opening pose. So I'll show you what it looks like, and then I'll instruct you. We lift the foot, instead of holding the outside like we did on that previous pose, we're gonna catch the hand on the inside, because that will keep the chest and shoulder open, and the knee more apt to face down versus swinging out. The other arm will lift, and when we fold, the leg lifts, and the heel lifts away from the buttocks. We keep the heart open, and then we come up, and we release. If we were in a studio, we could use a wall. We don't really have walls, but we do have trees, if you want to step off the platform and use the tree for balance. Also in a studio, we have straps, because sometimes if we're limited in our shoulder range or in our hip range, then we can attach the strap to a foot, hold it with the hand as a tool, as an apparatus to help. Let's just do our best. Let's begin stacking on the right foot, broaden the base of the foot, spread the toes. Stack and stand on that leg, engage the muscles, hug it close to the bone. When you're ready, catch the left foot, reach the right arm skyward. You can choose to stay here or hinge, dancing Shiva. You need to come out. Inhale will bring you up. Exhale will release the foot. Yes, rocking it, Barb. Okay, left foot. How was it? Any questions? Nope. Broaden the base of the left foot. Stack the bones and joints. Engage the muscles. When you're ready, find a drishti. Catch your right foot. Elevate your left arm. And when you're ready, strike the pose. There's nothing to it. Vote. Inhaling up. Exhale, release. How was it?
Hard.
Good? It is hard. Was the first side or second side easier?
Nope.
Both the same?
No, not the same.
The first was easier. What side were you on? Standing.
Left was
Oh.
first. No, right was first.
Right was first. That's your masculine side. So,
Okay.
yeah. All right, we're going to come back down. So if you don't do squat, come on down to the mat. If you do practice squat, separate your feet, bend the knees, and come down into your squat position. Yeah. Lift your chest. Come on down to your seat. When you come down to your seat, just take a cross-legged position for a moment. I'm gonna demo what we're going to do for our inversion today. So remember the bridge flow we did yesterday. We were coming in and out of bridge. Today we're gonna hold bridge. So your hold of bridge might be arms beside you and tuck and lift. Now, the issue or the problem I see with a lot of students, the feet may be too wide and the knees start to splay. And when you do this, there's no engagement in the body. No real engagement in the muscles. So you want your feet parallel, toes pointed forward, feet pushing down so that it fires up your glutes and hamstrings, and then your arms push down to elevate your chest. Okay, so that may be yours. If you can rock and roll the shoulders slightly under the body and catch your hips with your hands, you might be able to do supported bridge. Again, the knees might splay, so push down through the mound of the big toes. If you can do supported bridge, do supported bridge. And some people prefer tucking the shoulders under, lacing the hands together. And then again, the legs may get loose and you have to re-engage. All right, any questions? 1, 2, or 3. You've got 3 options. So let's go ahead and come down. Arms stack alongside you. Heels up underneath your knees. Push forward and down through the feet. Start to tuck the tailbone and lift. So this may be your bridge, your Setu Bandhasana. Try to lengthen the knees towards the trees in front of you, and then try to lift the chest towards your chin. If you want to rock and roll the shoulders under, maybe catch your hips with your hands. Make sure you ground through the inner part of the feet, especially the mound of the big toes. If you prefer to lace the hands together, you can do that. Look at your belly and watch it balloon up as you breathe in, deflate as you breathe out. Affirming, I offer every thought as a bridge to divine grace. And as you exhale, release your hands, broaden your shoulders, contract your core, and roll it down softly. Heel toe the feet wide to the edges of your mat. Slide your feet or scoot them slightly ahead of where they once were. And take the windshield wipe twist. Roll to the outer edge of your left foot to the inner edge of the right foot. And I'm not asking us to display our arms, but you can. I'm just doing that for the cleanliness purpose of the platform. Your hands can reside on your belly if you prefer. Now you can take this IT band a little bit deeper on the right leg if you want to stack your left ankle on top of that right knee. That may or may not be welcome in your body. So listen for the feedback. Release the left foot, inhale, roll it back to the soles. And then outer edge of the right foot, inner edge of the left. The hands can remain on the belly or you can splay them open. Check in with your low back, check in with your hip and IT band. This may be plenty. But if you want a little extra, Stack the right foot on top of the left knee. Inhale, release that right foot, bring the knees back to center. And then roll over to your right side. Come up to sit for just a moment. We're gonna do one more inversion, and it's called fish, but I wanted you to have a visual because there's two options. At least I'm gonna give you two options. There's way more options, but I'm gonna give you two options today. The first option is a little bit more modified. So think about your neck, okay? You may already know the condition of your neck. You may know that you're losing the curve of your neck, or maybe you have too much curve of your neck. You may have been injured in the past with your neck. So if you need to modify, it's gonna look like this. Similar to the way we started bridge, on our backs, knees bent, but the arms lift, the elbows scrape the side body, and then push down so that do you see how I'm squeezing the shoulders, tucking them under so the chest lifts? And that way I'm not producing a lot in my neck. There's a little bit of action in the neck, but the head's on the floor. It's not bad. The other option would be, you're not sitting on your hands, because if I'm sitting on my hands, see the elbows are wide? You want the elbows kind of tucked into your side body. So that typically means, for most people, of course we're all different, the hands are more under the thighs. The legs straighten, the elbows tuck in, and you're already getting a little chest bump here. But the toes point forward, we root the elbows to lift the chest, and then we stack ever so lightly. I'm not putting weight on my head. The weight is in my arms, you see? And then to come out, you release like that. Now you give it a try. So roll down to your back and determine, right? Do you need the first one, the first option, which is not so much in the neck? Or do you want to try that second option? So bend your knees if you need the first option, arms beside you. And then all you're gonna do is start to drive the shoulders under and puff your chest up. Or you can lift the arms first, drive the arms down like I demonstrated so that you're pushing into the upper arms, which will help to elevate the chest and a slight opening in your throat. And those of you going into regular fish with legs straight, slip the hands under your seat, line them up more under the upper part of your thighs, rest down into your elbows, and then puff up through your chest, and get that extra action in your neck. At the beginning of the pandemic, my son was having a little heartburn. And he was like, "Mom, I'm having this pain, it's heartburn." And I said, well, a restorative back bend will help. So I grabbed a pillow off the couch, I laid him into a restorative back bend, and I said, now just do some breathing. And when his head was over to the other side, the karaoke machine was there. And he turned it on and grabbed the microphone. And he created this song, which I think is a hook. I keep telling him he needs to write the rest of the song. So I'll sing it to you now. I'm breathing, I'm breathing. I'm in a back bend and I'm breathing. I'm breathing, I'm breathing. I'm in a back bend and I'm breathing. Now, if you want to release from your back bend, go ahead and come on out. Hug your knees back into your chest one more round. And then rock and roll up one more time. We're gonna place the right shin in front of us. And we're gonna bring that left heel back alongside the hip like this. We're gonna do that Wheel of Life twist. So as you inhale, lift up. And as you exhale, you're going to start to twist around to the right. Oh, you can come this way because you're on the other side. That's okay. Yeah, just come towards me. And then when you walk the hands out, it's okay to come down to the forearms. This is actually the one that I prefer nowadays, but there's another way to do it. You can, you know what, I think we need to do this today because I'm looking at the platform. I don't really want to go off my mat, really that much. But you can stretch your left arm out and lower and your right arm out to the right side. I'll kind of demo here. Except your hands would be flat and your face would be flat. But lately I'm preferring this one. This is the Wheel of Life pose. Remember, the Wheel of Life is that cycle of life. And if you go to, you've probably seen it, Scott, when you visited Asia, when you go to Buddhist temples, they'll have like this prayer wheel outside. And the idea is to spin it and use a mantra, but it represents the Wheel of Life, what we've been discussing today. And then we'll inhale, bring it up. And then we swap the position of the body. And you can turn sideways on your mat if you want. So it doesn't matter with the right foot if you're on the top of the foot or if it's more like a frog foot. But we'll inhale, lift through the crown, twist to the other side, walk it out. Lower to the forearms, or this time you can splay your right arm out, your left arm to the side, and then come down to one cheek. Inhale, let's slowly walk it in. Knees are going to bend, but the feet are going to go farther away. You can hold your legs and come down slowly, or you can release your arms, scoop the belly in, those rectus abdominis muscles, and slowly roll it back. For Shavasana, our final resting point. The legs can slide out. If you feel like you want a hip opener, you can bring the soles of the feet together, knees apart. Or supine bound angle pose. And if you want a forest bathe, you can keep the eyes open. And if not, close the eyes. Either way, turn inward. I would take at least 3 deep breaths. Before letting the control of the breath subside. Affirming mentally within, bones, muscles, movement. I surrender now. Anxiety, elation, depression, any and all turning thoughts, I now give over to the hands of peace. Peace, be still. Be still and know that I am. want you to notice with your eyes closed how the lids of the eyes can make it seem a little dark. There may be times when the eyes are closed that it seems like a movie screen with visions dancing in your mind. You may see some light filtering through the lids. And I want you to turn your inner gaze towards the third eye, the center point of your brow. The eyes closed and setting your drishti there. Remember what we've been told by a great master in the past. If thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be filled with light. Jesus once said that. And there's been a lot of studies about meditation, specifically gazing to this point, what's referenced as the spiritual eye. The studies show that compassion expands within our hearts, that we're able to receive great insight. We're tuned in more to our intuition, and we can expand our imagination. We stimulate the pineal gland. And the pineal gland shrinks with age. So the way to keep it active is to meditate. Fluoride also has been shown to calcify the pineal gland. So remember to keep meditating. On your next in-breath, stretch the arms overhead. Draw the knees together or straighten out through the legs and point your toes, and then exhale, curl in. Gently roll to one side of your body and come up to take a seat. And I want to share with you something about Shavasana that you may not know. Shavasana actually began as a meditation upon death. It's called the corpse pose. And the idea is to get so still, so quiet, to meditate on the fact that we are more than just this vehicle or shell of body, more than flesh and bones, and we are so much more than the intellect of our minds and our logical thinking. That there's something else inside, and that inside is what's bearing witness to all that happens internally and externally, even through our experiences in life. So you've probably heard the common expression, we are not human beings having an occasional spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience, but what I want to add to that is we are infinite spiritual beings having a temporal human experience. So bring your hands to Anjali Mudra. May we recognize and understand the cycles of life. May we see and relate to the interconnectedness of life. May we understand that life is on a continuum. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.